This is Fat to Fierce. Welcome to the Confidence Chronicles. I'm your host, Amy English. Join me on this empowering adventure towards a healthier relationship with food, body, and self, one delicious bite at a time. Hello, welcome to the Confidence Chronicles. So in this week's episode, we're going to talk about 5 things you can do today to take back your power from food. All right. And this is an important topic. Listen, I don't know about you, but I am inundated with all of the posts on GLP-1s. All right. I know I talk about this quite a bit, but here's the thing. And I'm just going to say this. I recognize that these weight loss medications are a very helpful and powerful tool for a lot of people. And I think that's wonderful. It's not something that I'm personally choosing to use on my weight loss journey right now, but I know a lot of people are. And I'm a firm believer that everybody must find what works for them. Okay. That said, what breaks my heart is seeing people who either can't tolerate those medications, or their insurance is no longer covering those medications, or their doctor is no longer prescribing those medications. And they're kind of back at square one, because what we've all heard is that once you stop taking those medications, all the food noise comes back, right? So you're kind of left at square one, feeling like you have no control with food. Okay. And so I just want to say that, like, great that those tools are helpful in the weight loss department. Absolutely. But they're not solving the problem with food that's been there, right? They're kind of a Band-Aid solution. And when it comes to the relationship with food, all right? And we all know what happens when the food noise comes back and we don't know how to control that, or we don't know how to handle it, right? People are going to revert back to those same patterns. And one thing that I am incredibly proud of in my life, and this is beyond me being a coach in this area, okay? The one thing that I am so incredibly proud of is the fact that I did, in fact, stop the food noise on my own with the help of coaching tools and fellow coaches, okay? I'll never say that I did it on my own, because I didn't. But I worked with my peer coaches as I was going through coach training, and I used the coach tools, the same tools that I teach in my coaching practice today, to stop the food noise. Now, that doesn't mean I never get cravings. Of course, every once in a while I get cravings, but they are nothing like the food noise that used to persist and burn a hole in my brain. Okay. If you know, you know. Food noise sucks. All right. There is no way to sugarcoat that. It just sucks, because you feel like you're at the mercy of food, and you feel like you're almost like in a trance, right? And like you have no control. And the specific food, it feels like it's calling your name, and you just can't get on with your day or do anything until you eat that food. Like, I remember this clearly. I remember what it was like. And to be able to be here today as somebody who has completely changed this without using a medication, okay, by using the coaching tools that I learned and teach, is really incredibly powerful, and something that I am like super proud of. And the reason why it is so important, even if you are on those medications, is because here's the deal. If you're on those medications and they're quieting the food noise for you, fantastic. But my understanding is that at some point you're going to have to come off that medication. Okay. I don't know. I'm hearing that there's an age limit on these. Like, I don't know. Listen, I'm not on them, so I don't know enough about them. These are just things I hear in, talking to my own doctor and stuff like that. Which, by the way, the doctor that I go to, the entire practice has stopped prescribing them for weight loss. I don't know why. But I find that really interesting. And I'm also hearing that a lot of insurance companies are no longer covering them for weight loss. So it's even more reason why it is so important. And this is just my opinion, but it's why it is so important to learn how to handle and deal with and quiet the food noise for yourself without having to rely on the medication. I mean, like, yeah, by all means, if you can go on the medication for if it's helping with your weight loss, but don't have to rely on that solely for the food noise, because it is absolutely possible to stop the food noise without medication. All right. And so this is what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about 5 things you can start doing today to take back your power from food, to reclaim that power, to stop feeling so helpless and like you can't control yourself. Okay. And to realize that all those thoughts about food that are so persistent, like, don't have to be there anymore. You certainly don't have to listen to them. Okay. This is all about taking your power back, right? And realizing that food is not in control. It never was in control. It's really just a projection of your thoughts. Okay. And what I mean by that, because think about it, the food can't call your name. Okay. It's just impossible. Food cannot call your name. I mean, like, let's think of this really basically. Okay. Food does not have the ability to call your name. It doesn't talk. I mean, right? So, since we know that food can't actually really call your name, what is that happens where it feels like it is? They're your thoughts. They're sentences in your brain that make it seem like food is calling your name. You're projecting those thoughts, you're projecting those sentences onto said food. And that is all because there was a relationship with food that was formed. There was a meaning with food that was formed at some point in your life where that specific food that feels like it has power over you, that specific food was used for some reason to fulfill some emotional need, to avoid something, to distract, to feel better, to bring comfort, to bring joy, to bring peace, whatever. That particular food, or several different types of food, were used for that reason. So now there's meaning attached to it, right? And that meaning produces thoughts, it produces sentences. And so you project those onto the food, and that's why it seems like the food is calling your name. Okay. But we all know the food is not really calling your name. These are just deeply embedded thoughts. And that's actually good news, because guess what? Since they're your thoughts coming from your brain, yeah, you can change them. All right. And I want to really, like, be clear here that I know it seems impossible. I get that 100%, because there is a time in my life where I truly thought I just had to figure out a way to live with this. This is before any of the medications and stuff were out. This is, I don't know, like 10 years ago. But I truly, truly thought that I was just going to have to figure out a way to deal with stress eating. I was just going to have to figure out a way to deal with what we now call food noise, right? And that's where I was doing diet after diet, thinking that was going to solve it. And I would just lose weight, but then, whatever. You know some of the story if you've listened to the previous episodes. But there is a time in my life where I truly felt that I truly thought that I would just have to continue figuring out a way to work around this obsession with food. And I certainly didn't think I'd ever be able to solve it until I learned that I could, and I did. And that's why I became an emotional eating coach, to help other people with this. Okay. And so, all that to say, what I want to share today, especially as we enter the summer season where there are often parties and barbecues and all the different foods around. And a lot of times, I think in summer we can get a little lax, or at least I know I used to get a little lax with my food choices, right? Especially when my kids were little, because we were going for ice cream, every other day. We just don't do that anymore. But yeah, it can be a little, things can be a little bit more lax, but then I don't know if you're anything like how I was, then beat myself up and feel bad about all these choices I was making and feeling like I had no control and blah 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 blah. So here we are about to enter the summer season, and why not dive in to 5 things you can start doing today to take back your power from food and learn that you are in control. And you don't have to do all 5 of these, okay? Like you can pick one that resonates with you the most. Maybe pick one that feels, more doable and just play with it. Just try it out for a couple of days. Heck, try it out for a week. What you could do if you wanted to, this is just a little idea that popped in my mind right now, is you could take one of these, practice it for a week and try all 5 of them. 5 weeks, and just notice what's different when you practice these things. Okay. When you practice these, they're tools essentially to really reclaim your power from food. Because the whole point in this, what I'm sharing today, is for you to be able to see that you are in charge, for you to be able to realize that you are in control. They are your thoughts, which means they can be changed, and that like food really has not cast a spell on you. Okay. You are in charge. All right. So my hope is that something here will resonate for you. These they're doable steps, okay? I don't want to say that they're necessarily simple. I mean, I can reflect back and think that they're simple. I've been doing this for a minute. They might not seem simple to you, and that's okay, especially if you're just getting started on this road. That's okay, right? But they are doable. They're things that you can practice. So I'm going to invite you to listen, grab your favorite beverage, get a notebook, something to take some notes with, and let's dive in, shall we? All right. What I want to say is, okay. My hope is that you walk away from this episode with some real tangible steps that you can practice on your own. Okay. And I will say this, if you would like further, excuse me, if you would like further help with this, then I will invite you to book a connection call. Head over to my website, amyenglishcc.com. Book a connection call from my calendar. We can talk more about this, and we can also talk about the benefit of private coaching and how that can help you, continue on your journey in a one-on-one coaching environment. And as always, listen, if you want to, take things a step further before one-on-one coaching, get the Fat to Fierce self-study program. Okay. It is $99, also on my website. I shared so many coaching tools in that program for you to do on your own if that's a path that you'd like to take initially. And then of course we can also look at one-on-one coaching, after you've gone through that. So there's options for you to continue this either on your own or with me as your coach. And I would be honored to work with you. Okay. Like I love this topic. I love this stuff. I love helping women see that they are in control, and I love helping them feel empowered to like what am I trying to say here? Like empowered to make their own choices when it comes to food and realize that they're no longer in that spell. Like that spell is broken. Okay. It's just such a powerful thing. All right. Anyway, let me not continue to ramble here. Let's start with the first. And listen, some of these you may have heard before in previous episodes. All right. I repeat these for a reason because they're important. Number 1, pause. Practice the pause. Pause before you eat. What does that mean? You literally stop yourself. When I talk about the pause, I always picture this old tape recorder thingy I had when I was a kid back in the 80s, okay? When you would press the pause button I don't know why that is the image I get, but that is what I see when I talk about practicing the pause. It is literally pressing the pause button on yourself, okay? And you do this before you eat. And what it looks like is you stopping, okay? So let's put this into a let's paint this into a picture. So we all know what that constant craving feels like and sounds like, right? When the food is when it seems like the food is calling, right? And you're going to the pantry or maybe you're riding through the drive-through to get that food, whatever it is, just so that that noise will stop, right? So here's what you do. You pause yourself for just a second. In the beginning, this might feel really challenging. That's okay. You keep practicing, and as you keep practicing it, it gets easier. Okay. So this is one of those trust the process type of things. Okay. Just let it be challenging in the beginning if you're just getting started with this. But you want to stop yourself before you get the food, and you just want to check in. You just want to ask yourself some questions when you're in this pause. It is literally the space between the urge to eat and the action of eating. Okay. So it's that little space in between. And in that space, you just want to ask yourself some questions. Am I hungry? Am I physically hungry right now? Yes or no? Okay. Just notice. And then you want to ask, especially if you're not physically hungry, you just want to ask, what am I really needing right now? What am I looking for? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? Is food the solution for whatever is going on right now? Do I really want to eat this? How am I going to feel afterwards? Like, you don't have to ask all these questions, but pick some that really, feel good for you. Ask and answer those questions. For me, it was always helpful to have like 3 or 4 of those questions handy. Like, am I hungry right now? Number 1. Yes or no. And that's going to help you get familiar with your physical and emotional hunger. Okay. Because there's a big difference between the two. If you're physically hungry, yes, it makes sense you're going to want to eat. If you're not physically hungry, that's very telling. Like, why do you want the food? What's going on right now? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Is food going to fix it? Is that really the path you want to take right now? With no shame. Okay, this is really important when you're in the pause. There's no shame. There's only curiosity, okay? You're only getting curious with yourself to see what's going on in the moment. And this is also, the pause is not about stopping yourself from eating because eating is bad, okay? We don't want to look at it that way. What this is so it's not about stopping yourself from eating. It is just about showing up for yourself with curiosity. This is part of you taking your power back, okay, over your thoughts and over your choices. All right. So that's the number one thing that you can start doing today is just start practicing the pause every time you notice you're going for food. Okay. And I remember when I first started doing this, I didn't always catch myself. All right. And I think that's just really important to share because you too may not always catch yourself. But the more you start to just catch yourself and notice, like, oh, hey, I'm heading for the pantry again, or oh, I'm going for the freezer again, like, oh, I'm going for those pretzels again. The more you start to catch yourself, it's just raising your awareness. Okay. You're becoming more conscious of your actions, and that's going to enable you to start pausing more often and just checking in. I shared once before that I used to sing a song every time I pause, every time I started noticing that I was in front of the pantry or in front of the freezer, like looking for a snack, like looking for a snacky snack to have while I watch my show. I would start singing a song when I paused, and that was enough to help me remember to pause more often and remember what I was doing in that moment. And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm here again. I'm in front of the pantry." And then that was like, "Oh, okay, Amy, you're here again. What's going on? Are you hungry? What are you thinking? What do you feel? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Do you want to do this? How is this going to feel afterwards? Blah, blah, blah." Okay. Practice the pause. Pause before you eat. Super powerful, super helpful. Probably one of my favorite tools. Okay. But you got to be gentle with yourself because judgment and shame are not helpful here, okay, with any of these. Number 2, ditch the food rules. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. As I'm working with my dietitian, which I've shared, I'm realizing, whoa, I still have food rules. Okay. There are still some food rules that I have had in me, especially when she told me she wants me to start eating 150 grams of carbs. I had a moment, okay? And it's understandable because there are so many food rules that we like don't even as an emotional eating coach, I don't even realize that sometimes that I still have some deeply embedded food rules that are still lingering. Like when she said 150 grams of carbs a day, I was like, whoa, what? And it's not that I continuously count my carbs, but in my head, that feels like a lot. And so it was just really interesting. Or when she bumped up my fat grams to between 60 and 80, I was like, I'm sorry, what? Because any previous plan that I'd been on was low carb and low fat. So in my mind, I'm like, whoa, that seems like a lot. That's just an old food rule. Okay. So you want to start to notice any food rules that you have. You're not going to catch them all, just like I haven't caught all mine. Okay. But just kind of notice the ones that are like at surface level and really start to question them and see if you can gently just kind of ditch them. Some sound like good choices, but they actually disconnect us from our body's wisdom. Okay. This is where listening to your body really starts to come into play. Like, what does your body want? What does your body need? Okay. Intermittent fasting is another one. I know so many people will, say intermittent fasting is the way to go. Well, listen, if I wake up in the morning and I'm physically hungry, like my tummy is growling and I'm at that -2 on the hunger scale, I've talked about that in previous episodes, then I'm going to eat. Okay. I don't need to follow some rule that says I can only eat once the clock strikes 11. All right. These are kind of some of the rules that I'm talking about. These rules cannot replace the wisdom of your body. And the whole idea behind ditching the rules is learning to trust the wisdom of your physical body because your body is sending signals to you. Your body's going to let you know when you're physically hungry and when you're not. And also that kind of is helpful too when you're practicing the pause, right? Because that's that first question I mentioned. Are you physically hungry right now? Yes or no? Okay. Listening to your body is going to be a big part in ditching any food rules that you notice. So yeah, with this whole macro thing, and listen, I am not super rigid when it comes to my macros, but because I'm working with a dietitian right now, I am paying more attention to it because we're trying to figure some things out with my body, okay? And I just noticed my shock when she gave the amount of macros, and it was just really interesting for me to be like, whoa, I'm listening to some rule that says that's too many carbs, or your carbs are bad, or I shouldn't have that many carbs, or I certainly shouldn't eat that much fat, which, by the way, as a woman in the perimenopause phase, I did not realize the importance of healthy fat in hormone balance. So there's that too. And it really got me fired up recently. I'm going off on a little tangent here because I think so many of us have been led to, follow these low fat type diets, not eating as much healthy fat. And that's just really unfortunate because how much has that messed with our hormones? And the other thing too is that I get really fired up because some of these plans that are out there, some of these eating plans, and listen, I've done my fair share of them over the years, right? But these plans do not take into consideration each person's body, right? They can't because like every body is different and there'd be a different plan for every person. But it's just making me realize how dangerous most of these plans are. Like these plans that tell you exactly what to eat. Yeah, They're not helpful and it's very frustrating. So just, pay attention to that. And just notice what food rules you have and see if there are some that are not helpful that you can ditch. Okay. That was number 2. Ditch the food rules. Number 3, eat something you actually want, something you enjoy. All right. Because, here's the thing, when we try to resist, like, say you are having a craving for something that you really enjoy, and you try and you start resisting that craving, we all know what's going to happen. Eventually, that dam is going to break, the floodgates are going to open, and it's going to just be, you know, a whatever. You're going to end up eating more. Or I used to do this all the time. I would try to find alternatives to what I was really craving. So let's say, for example, like I was really craving buttercream, right? My buttercream frosting. And I would be like, oh, let's just get some Cool Whip, or let me get some yogurt, or let me get all these other things instead of the buttercream. And so I would just be eating all these other foods and eventually, cave and eat all the buttercream and go overboard. So the point here is, like, what would feel both satisfying and peaceful for my body right now? What is something that I really enjoy that I would like to have and eat mindfully? Okay. That's a big key here too. Plate it, put it on it, find some, like, get something you enjoy, put it on a plate, sit down, enjoy it. Use all your senses to experience the moment. Put your phone down, shut the television off, and just sit down with this food that you actually want, that you actually enjoy, and eat it. And pay attention as you have each bite. Okay. That alone is a really powerful tool in reclaiming your power from food, okay? Because you're not like feverishly eating it like it's the last time you're ever going to have it, right? You're not trying to sneak it. You're just saying, you're giving yourself permission to sit down and say, I'm going to enjoy this right now. And that's okay. Number 4, talk to yourself like you would a friend. This is so important. All right. We trash talk ourselves so much. That inner critic, especially after you've eaten something quote unquote bad. Again, there's a food rule. Okay. Get rid of that good and bad language. I like power food and pleasure food instead. But that inner critic can be really loud when we've eaten something we deem as bad. I often used to say, like, my inner critic had a bullhorn. She was real loud, like had center stage. And it's just never helpful. So you just want to notice what your inner critic might be saying. And, you can ask yourself, what else could be true? Or you can, try this reframe. What would I say to a friend who just ate this? Right? Like, just picture your friend says, oh, I ate, 12 cookies instead of 2. Are you going to tell your friend, like, oh my God, you're disgusting? Probably not. You're going to be like, all right, like, don't beat yourself up. Start again now. It's fine. Like, it's okay. Like, let it go. Talk to yourself that same way. This is so incredibly important. And honestly, well, let me continue with number 5 and then I'll say what I was going to say. Okay. So, yes. And let's see. I'm looking at my outline here because I just lost myself for a second. So yeah, what would I say to a friend who just ate this? The bottom line is, learn to talk to yourself in a loving, supportive way. Tune into your inner ally, okay? Like, we all have an inner critic. We also have an inner ally, all right? So start to use that inner ally to talk to yourself in a more compassionate, supportive way. This is huge. All right. And number 5, celebrate one small win. Okay. Like, listen, the big wins are huge and those are always super helpful and important to celebrate, but we got to start celebrating the small wins too. And maybe a small win would be just listening to this podcast, taking some notes, picking one of these tools that you want to practice today, like the moment you're listening to this, right? That's a win to celebrate. Just the fact that you're willing to practice one of them, that is a win, okay? Celebrate yourself. You know what? Just the fact that you want to change your relationship with food, or you want to take back your power from food, just that willingness alone, how about we celebrate that win? Okay? Because that takes awareness, and I think we don't celebrate that enough. Okay? The willingness to want to do something different. So yeah. What else? Oh, and then you might want to, we talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking about like comparison, compare and despair, about building your own highlight reel. So this is where this would come into play, right? Grab a journal, start keeping tabs of these wins that you can celebrate. Okay. This is very, very important. And of course, I can't remember what I was going to say earlier. I lost it, but that's okay. Maybe it'll come back in a second. I just want to quickly recap these 5 things that you can start doing today to take back your power from food. All right. So, again, number 1, pause before you eat. Practice that pause. Number 2, ditch a food rule, right? Notice what food rules you might still have lingering. See if you can ditch one. All right. Eat something you actually want. Mindfully eat it and enjoy it. Talk to yourself like you would a friend. Be kind. Tune into your inner ally. She's there. They're there. I promise. They are. Okay. And then celebrate one small win. Where it might be helpful to start, if some of these, all of these might sound easy and doable, and that's fantastic. If some of these feel a little tricky, pick one that feels the most doable to you and just roll with it. And maybe that is just celebrating one small win. Like, after you're done listening to this, grab your notebook or your phone or whatever you use to take notes, write down one small win, even if it is just your willingness to practice this, right? Hey, I'm going to try one of these things to reclaim my power from food. That's your win, okay? We don't always have to have the really huge wins, okay? Sometimes these small ones are more powerful. And here's the thing, when you start tracking your small wins, they're little breadcrumbs, right? And they're little breadcrumbs that lead to the larger wins. All right? These small wins are important because there's always small wins in between the big ones. And when you can start to see those, when you can start to shift to see those, that's huge on your journey. All right. Change never comes from perfection. All right. There's no perfect in this game. I've said that a million times. It comes from progress. It comes from presence. Be present with yourself. Notice. Just continue putting one foot in front of the other. Listen, sometimes you might need to take a pause instead of putting one foot in front of the other, and that's totally fine. All right. Sometimes we backpedal a little bit. That's okay too. The point is, you still got yourself. All right. And then you can pull yourself back up. What I used to say all the time, pull yourself up when you fall, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going, one foot in front of the other. All right. It's okay if you have a moment where you fall. It's not a big deal. All right. The whole point is that we keep going. Okay. Hopefully that made sense. All right. That's it for today. I hope that you have a great week, and I will see you next time. Are you ready to break free from stress eating and body shaming? It's time to get fierce. Fat to Fierce is a self-paced program that helps you build a new foundation of strength and balance without the toxic dieting mindset. This non-diet approach focuses on mindful eating, body acceptance, and lasting transformation. It's time to reclaim your power and find peace with food, your body, and yourself. Visit amyenglishcc.com to get started today.